Hello! Hey fellas, it's the guy with the waving emotes, and welcome back to the tier list skins ranking tier list. Yeah, that thing. If you're new, please consider watching the first 3 parts if that piques your interest. I understand if you don't. And for anyone not familiar, I'll shove the things I value most in skins on screen now, as I remind that I am currently ranking all skins before patch 4.6, and I'll get to all those post 4.6 skins once I'm done with the oldies here. Shouldn't be too long now. Since the last video gained a bit more traction than I expected, I do want to quickly say, although I do rank everything with an air of objectivity, this is a cosmetic ranking video. It's going to be subjective as hell. Please do not take any of my opinions or placements of skins as any sort of personal attack. I'm making this list purely of my own enjoyment and hopefully for the entertainment of others. Like, if I end up bad-mouthing your favorite skin, feel free to skip over that portion of the video. To be honest, I understand perfectly. Alright, let's get things rolling again, starting with
Makoa, cuddly. The concept is interesting, to say the very least. For some reason, this skin is often related to a kind of meme-ish toxicity. Like, people tend to get really mad at you if you don't like this skin. It's mostly just joking, but there's a few people out there that actually just fume. I don't know, this skin always has had a weird aura surrounding it. Aside from that, I feel like the concept is kind of limited. Like, it's literally just plushy Makoa with bright colors. The quality is pretty low and the details are few and far between. The lacing is not exactly a creative detail, and that's mostly all there is. There isn't really any textures at all. It looks really blobby. The hook is oddly solid despite the fact that it's supposed to be plushy. The cannon is appropriate to the theme. Again, the theme is a little limiting, but the details in the cannon are fun. The main appeal of the skin is the kind of semi-meminess, especially modernly, because it's so old and kind of has a reputation. Especially because, let's be real, it looks really dumb and funny. That's kind of the point of it. Really meme-ish skins tend to overstay their welcome very quickly. I'm kind of on that train, generally speaking. I mostly said a lot of bad things about this skin, and that's just because I don't really find it very funny. I find it annoying, to be perfectly honest. It's a fun concept. It'd be very hard to execute, and this skin just kind of did okay, in my opinion. For me, it was never like American levels of humor, and the quality and details have always been lacking. Cite. Plushy. Maybe this one was the original, I actually don't know. The colors more lean into the absurdity of the skin, so it's probably a little better. They both look kind of dumb though. Prosperous. It's basically another cuddly slash plushy style recolor. I am going to rank this one differently though, since obviously it wasn't introduced at the same time, and it's pretty different, so yeah. This one's the best for a few reasons, mainly because the colors actually look nice. There's a few actual textures, which is nice as well. The head is more quote-unquote unique. It doesn't look as stupid with those googly eyes. It also kind of unofficially came with the lunar cannon, which is a recolor of the default skin's cannon, and looks really good, honestly. Some nice effects as well. It's still a recolor though, so it's really not that much better. So B tier. Volcanic. The idea is kind of baller. Let's make Makoa into a volcano. Woo! You really wouldn't be able to tell, but this skin's pretty old. The quality is really great. There isn't much detail since volcanoes don't really have a lot of details, but yeah. It kind of reminds me of that Overlord con, where it's just let's take a random ass theme and make this character into that thing. Tons of glowy molten effects, which look real nice. The weapons fit right in, but also look cool by themselves. The chain, for instance, is all like diamond shapes, and that's kind of cool. I like his spooky, jagged mouth. Not a ton of like creative stuff, but the concept slash execution looks pretty good. Not really offensive at all, despite not being slick at all either. It's chunky and that's all on purpose, I'm sure. Oh, and when you shell spin, the volcano spews lava, which is cool. I kind of get the feeling that they were really trying to make this one stand out and be pretty high quality, especially for the time, due to the fact that this is a level 30 exclusive in the beta. Anyway, A tier. Dutchman. Pirate stuff is overdone, but this is the best of the best. They took the concept that was mostly saved for pirate skins recolors and turned it into a full actualized skin, while keeping Makoa still Makoa, so I'm happy. The pirate theme works really well with Makoa. I mean, like cannon, anchor, fits right in. Speaking of which, the weapons are really appropriate and look great. He's got a cool hat, funny pants, and big old boots. His shell, of course, is like a big old ship cranky yank with a face on it and stuff. Ramshackle, but in a good way. The overall quality isn't super high, but I mean, he's a ghost, I suppose. Not much details, but what's there is good. Another thing is that he's a ghost, so you know the colors are pretty similar, but that's kind of the point. So the ghost effects of course are spot on as well. Like I said, when it comes to the pirate stuff, this skin is just kind of the best of the best. I still stand by the fact that the pirate theme is super overdone and boring, but this is about as good as it could possibly be. S tier. Akuma. To quote myself, it looks cool, but it's boring. It's definitely got like a ninja Asian theme, kind of, I guess. Makoa certainly isn't the first person I think of whenever someone says ninja, but yeah, they did pretty alright in execution though. It's a bit much to first look at for sure. It tends to happen when you put a lot of stuff onto a little fat body. There's a little too much spikes and stuff. It's not very sleek at all. Too many faces as well. Faces are always odd additions to skins. It just seems like a replacement for good details, while instead they're just going, okay, well, let's just slap another face in here. Other than all that, I'd say the skin is pretty cool looking. I feel like the armor, if it had less just stuff everywhere to confuse my brain, it would be way better though. The weapons are really cool, even though the anchor is literally just another face. I know I said there's a little too much spikes and all that, but the claws are cool, and there's a lot of spikes on the shell that could stay, and I think it'd still be cool. I really enjoy the skin, but there's just a little too much stuff. Just tone it down a little bit and it would be perfect, but for now, you know, it is what it is. B tier. Omega. Again, pretty straightforward robot skin. Almost forgettably so, just like the others, but it's still really cool. This is the problem I have with these robot skins. They're all really cool, but super forgettable. Like, here I am about to sing its praises, but at the same time, like, I just don't feel like this skin is very good in a weird backwards way while still thinking it's good. It's so confusing. But anyway, I like his helmet, I like his face, and I like the shell stuff. There's tons of nice little robotic details. The weapons are pretty sick, generic looking but sick. It's very samey, but cool samey. The main thing is it's just a safe skin, nothing offensive, and it's not confusing to look at like Akuma, despite all the details. There is something slightly unique about this skin that I just can't put my finger on. Maybe it's just because it's on Makoa, and Makoa is a pretty unique character. But yeah, there really isn't too much to say with this skin. It's like, it's so safe, man. It's exactly what it needs to be without taking any other creative liberties to go any further. But at the same time, it still looks really good, and I would still totally use this skin, so B tier. Maldamba. Chancellor. Classic. I love the skin. Doesn't really have a solid theme, which I guess is kind of good in this case. It keeps you guessing. I think what I mean is that it sticks to a theme well, even if I don't know what that theme is. The snake is the best part, for sure. Oh, Long Johnson be ballin', or should I say row ballin', you know what I mean? Not actually really a ton of details on the clothes. It just looks really slick and clean. What's there is cool. The snake and the veil, though, are very detailed. The quality looks quite good, too, especially for the time. It might be a little bit out of the blue, but it's hard to express how standout this skin was at the time. It was such a good skin. The quality difference and execution of the concept at the time was pretty unprecedented, and it's a skin that still stands the test of time today, while keeping all the original Maldamba attributes. It's a beaut. S tier. Wickerman. This guy started off with some bangers. The snake isn't as cool as Chancellor, but yeah, it's still a cool snake. But yeah, from what I can think of right now, this is definitely the best Halloween design. Somehow the possessed scarecrow boy fits perfectly with Maldamba. I'm not sure how, but it really does. The details are great. Quality is quite good as well. I don't know what else to say, but it makes my eyes extremely happy. I really didn't have much to say about this skin. It's just everything about this skin is high quality. Even the voice pack, which I don't normally care much about, is something that I don't mind using. It's lovely. The only downer to the skin, I think, is the weapon, just because it's not quite as good as some of his others, I guess. But I mean, how much can you customize a snake for real? S tier. Navi. It's pretty much just a recolor. Kinda looks like if Maldamba wasn't homeless and was instead a mascot for a team. It's pretty alright. It's just, you know, generally lacking because, you know, it's not a real epic skin. A bunch of effort wasn't put into this like a normal, you know, original skin. Looks pretty sleek though. It's just all nice and cleaned up. The mask is glowy. Kinda cool. The logo on his head isn't as cringy and unsubtle, but it's still not subtle either. Oh wait, yeah, he has the Navi team on his back. Never mind. It's not subtle at all. I don't really remember what this skin was commemorating. Probably someone won something or something. I don't know. It's okay, it's fine. It's just a recolor. C tier. Shadow Lord. Really good. I wouldn't expect it, but it works so well for Maldamba. Why is he so malleable? A lot of his skins work well for him. It's not overdone at all like the Akuma Makoa. The armor accompanying the clothing looks phenomenal. He's got a sick hat. Dangly bits be dangly. Oh, Long Johnson looking fly. He's got some nice armor and a sick axe thing on his nose. The snake isn't a highlight, but he's like the comic relief. He's fun and kind of silly looking. The mask is lovely as well. There is nothing bad with this skin. Everything is either good or extremely standout. It's high quality and the details are out of this world good. SS. Okay. Oh yeah, Shiro exists too, I guess. Steel Forged. Okay, well, I don't like the snake. They did old Johnny wrong in my opinion. The pipe is cute, but they reused the original snake with some accessories, so boo. The mask looks a little limp. I'm not a fan. This has got to be like the epitome of forgettable. The whole thing looks okay, but there is nothing interesting. The clothes are fine but boring. The boots are fine but boring. The armor's kind of weird and Those plus everything else makes it underwhelming and borderline ugly skin. Not all ugly, but just kind of. D tier. Dragon Forged. Basically nothing changed. They threw in some white and then... Oh, never mind, that's it, my bad. It's the worst recolor for sure in the entire game. Bad. Moji, Dragonborn. Moji herself looks like a mature Moji. It's really cute. I quite like this version of Moji. She has a good voice pack too. She got cute horns and cute glasses. She's got this awkward stick that she's not naturally holding, although it's not exactly noticeable until you look closely. Moji skins are kind of weird to rank because, you know, normally I'd look at the clothes and say how good they are, but I mean, like, the clothes really aren't the focal point of this skin. But yeah, her clothes are just fine. Her summons, though, are really cool and really take the cake for this skin. They got fins, which are cool. The spikes are nice. The tail is cute, and the dragon faces are really cool too. Flawless transition. Essentially, it just looks like older Moji and older familiars. There isn't really anything bad. Quality is good and the details are good. I'm a fan. S tier. Cuddly. It's like Cuddly Makoa, but generally better. The quality's better, and I want to say more detailed too, with the patchwork and such. Moji herself looks a bit lifeless, to say the least. Some might even say a bit creepy. She's got a hat, and I like hats, so yay. The saddle is actually quite visible with this one. I like it, but it's really hardly plushy. The summons are quite odd. They're not terrible, but like kind of off-putting. There's some cute details, like the tie and the bib thing for each head and the swirly noses. Also, the eyes for Moji herself aren't dead googly eyes like Makoa, so they are a bit more lively in that regard. The body of the summon kind of looks like a person in a suit, which always kind of creeped me out a little bit. I don't know what they could have added, but the whole summon looks a bit naked, to say the least. I don't know, the skin's weird. It's not absolutely terrible, it's just all so off-putting and weird. It would make more sense if they were trying to make it kind of creepy, but I really don't think they were. I think they were trying to make it as beloved as the Cuddly Makoa skins, and I don't even like those ones very much, so yeah. C tier. Octavia. This will not take long. Beachside. Well, I like what they did with her leg, or lack thereof rather. Looks kind of cool, like a in real life prosthetic, alongside the flipper of course. And the quality is quite good. The rest of the skin is bleh. The voice pack is
Octavia.
Shut the fuck up!
Obviously, beach skin equals bitch skin. It's uncreative and boring and bad. This one isn't the worst, but it's like, I don't know, she's got a wetsuit, a water bottle, a Nerf sword, and a water gun. Like, wow. As usual, nothing interesting aside from the leg, which I do like. The weapons are, well, creatively drained. Toy sword, because of course it is. Doesn't really even make much sense to have it on a beach skin. I don't know, maybe if she was a lifeguard, but like, if she was a lifeguard, it wouldn't be a toy sword, right? I often say this since I don't give a shit about the beach skins, but I do really believe it this time. I think this is probably the best gun overall with the beach skins. It's still just a water gun, but it's boring, but pretty cool too. This is the only water gun I've used and not kind of like immediately hated, I feel. It's slightly better than the generic female beach skin, I think. Oh yeah, and her hair looks like a pile of maggots. Almost forgot. C tier. Freedom Fighter. Well, the coloring is prettier in this one, I suppose. The sword is exactly the same. Wait, never mind, it's actually slightly darker orange. Huh. Her hair is better since it doesn't look like maggots, but it does kind of make her look like a clown. Fireworks though. I mean, they kind of half-heartedly turn this into a patriotic skin, which I don't really have much respect for. Like, if you're gonna make a patriotic skin, make the whole thing patriotic. Like, go American on their ass. I'm not really a huge fan of patriotic skins either way, and the fact that they formed a recolor into another patriotic skin is equally obnoxious, as if we didn't have enough already. Regarding that, it is still clear they put more work into this one than other recolors, I suppose. The gradients are nice, at least. C tier. Or, yeah, C, it goes above, you know, yeah. Pip. Tactical. It really doesn't bring anything to the table, but it's an alternate costume. I enjoy it. It's hardly more than the original, but more than a recolor, so there's no weapon, the pants are the same, bar the knee pads and boots, and some of the vials and stuff are reused as well. Aside from that, everything is different, but only slightly. As a result, though, it retains Pip's character, not creatively, just effectively. I don't know, maybe it was like an alternate design before Pip became Pip, as we know him. Also, his face is shaded slightly differently than the original, and I have no clue why. C tier. Raider. Okay, well the pants are the same as the original, so is the body and the gun, but waist up clothing wise, it's all unique. They made a couple skins with some wacky Viking helmets. This one especially looks really bulky and weird. The back is especially that. The rest of the changes are just Pip wearing something slightly different, nothing creative. I guess the closest thing to a theme would be just stereotypical Viking attire, but I mean, it mostly just looks like one day he decided to put on a different shirt. Doesn't look terrible, but the hat thing is a bother and hardly anything's really changed, so C tier. It's fine, just doesn't stand up to anything. Pandemonium. Don't let the skin fool you. It certainly fooled me for several years. This is not a skin. This is a recolor, specifically of the skin we just covered, Raider, minus the hat. His skin, like his fur, is red panda-y, which is kind of a nice change. He's also got goggles, which is, instead of being a recolor of anything from Raider, it's just a recolor of the original goggles, okay? He's also smirking slightly, which makes me want to shut the little shit up. It's a fine skin, I guess, but even though this one doesn't have the bulky, annoying hat, at least Raider actually tried to make it more unique. I don't know, it kind of seems to be a pattern from a lot of these essentially recolor but not recolor old skins. They seem to lack any kind of focus on a certain theme, which, you know, if you get too carried away on a theme, that's not always good, but if you have no theme, it's just like there's really nothing too stimulating when it comes to the skin, and a lot of these old skins are prime examples of that. Yeah. C tier. Mad Scientist. The skin provides some interesting insight on the kind of person you are. In other words, if you own this skin, you likely have friends. If not, you need to go outside. I do indeed own this skin, by the way. Not because I have friends, mind you, but because I have a brother that occasionally does what I tell him for some reason. He was a Grover main, who occasionally pressed Q when I reminded him. Otherwise, he would just throw axes and say, I am Groot, I am Groot, which incidentally simultaneously says most of what you need to know about him as a person. What was I talking about? He's got the same pants as Pip's default, but unlike the other recolor / skins, that's all he shares with the default. His fur is slightly different than the default as well, just like tactical, you know, the older version of the shading, I guess. And his tail also has a bit more flair. It's a very nice early skin. Not a ton of details, but plenty and all good. The quality is decent as well for being old. The gun is really nice and flowy. Goes great with the backpack, goggles, everything's real nice. It even had the early privilege of having a new reload animation, which was pretty rare back in the day. The theme is good with Pip, and it's obviously still Pip. They didn't just, you know, get rid of him and make way for a new character, which is nice. It means they sacrificed a bit of creativity, sure, but it also means it's just more like Pip, and I appreciate that. It's just a really solid and very early skin. B tier. Invader. I think Pip has probably proven to be the most difficult character to adapt into skins, or at least that's what I get from the fact that they haven't made a skin for him in like 4 years at this point. But making him into an alien is like probably the best idea you could possibly do, because aliens could be fucking anything. It actually kind of ends up working out pretty well. As it seems, the quality is pretty low, but the details are there. Not many at all, but you know, they're pretty solid, albeit a bit empty. Jetpack, mask, goggles, gun, all good stuff. The tail looks like a big old maggot though. Maybe it was the point though, so I can't really fault it. The big green alien head looks pretty good, I guess. He also turns people into little alien chickens, so that's cool. Only kind of big fault is that I kind of find it gross, even though that's kind of the point. Can't shake it though. His eyes are kind of dead too. Again, I know that's kind of the point, but yeah. They really leaned into the absurdity with this skin, and just like with Americon, that does play to a strength, but it also plays to a weakness, of where this skin is completely absurd. It is nothing like the universe it came from or the character it came from, and I'm not seeing much of Pip there, so that's kind of a problem for me. Anyway, C tier. Arctic. Again, don't be fooled, this is a recolor. I just find it funny that it's like a partial recolor of Pandemonium, which is also a partial recolor of Raider, which is also a partial recolor of the original. So it's a really weird inception of all these borrowing from a bunch of different skins that also borrowed from other bunch of different skins. I don't know. The boots and goggles are like the only things that are not recolored in one way or another, and are instead original for the skin. The fur looks okay until you get to the face. Something's weird. Like multiple times they've tried to get right furry facial stuff, and multiple times this succeeded, and multiple times this looked very strange. This is the worst of the worst. The gun is a recolor of the default. Despite the fact that they tried to sell this as a whole new skin back in 2018, underwhelming is a very good word to use in this case. It's a weird mishmash of all these other skins with very little new. D tier. Pepper. Oh boy. So over time, I've kind of started to understand why people really don't like this skin, just a little bit. Specifically, Pip players tend to have a, for lack of a better word, loathing for this skin. Over time, I think I've kind of come to terms with the idea that it's fine to be upset if a skin completely changes your favorite character. Like, I'd be just as annoyed if Cassie was turned into some dude instead of, you know, having a new skin. I never disliked Pip. I like Pip just fine, but I never really prioritized him over other characters. So him changing into another character, aka Pepper in this case, for me was just fine. So like I said, I kind of understand why people don't like this skin if they really like Pip himself. But with that being said, this is Pip's best skin, so suck it. Still the only skin in the game that changes your in-game PFP, which is kind of good and bad depending on where you stand on the liking or disliking the change of character thing. Speaking of that though, this was the very first skin that completely changed the gender of a character. Obviously there's a pretty big risk, and the result was pretty much an unnoticeable change, which is obviously good. I gotta imagine a lot of effort was put into this skin for that reason alone. I'll be real, the Pac-Man gun is kind of awesome. The music effects are also very good, and for once the skin with running shoes doesn't look dumb. A bit angular, but yeah. The hair is punk as fuck, but quite good. She also has glasses instead of goggles. Nice. A lot of good details in general. The quality is reasonably high as well. Again, her face just doesn't look weird like other adapted skins, whether it be like gender to other gender or something non-furry to furry. And since this is the first time they're doing that, it's pretty commendable. I'm still not a fan of just normal clothes, but it fits reasonably well with all the details. Much better than the street style skins anyway. Lizzie and I had the biggest disagreeingness on this one so far, so a compromise had to be made. We kind of put it in the middle of where we both wanted it there, so that's kind of interesting alongside the skin just being generally controversial. Again, I do understand why people don't like this skin, but I do feel like people that don't like the skin also kind of have to understand people who do. It's a relatively high quality skin with tons of details that aren't overbearing. It was like literally stated to be alternate universe Pip, so it kind of does still reflect his character in that regard, while relatively tastefully mashing in the remix theme. So objectively speaking, in every aspect aside from the controversial one, this is truly a good skin, and this is why we're ranking it as high as we are. Speaking of which, S tier.
Interesting.
Anyway, that's it for Pip. Raum is next.
It's snowing. Holy shit.
Crypt Guardian. Damn, the skin at first glance just looks lovely. The Egyptian theme is a little antiquated, but I mean, it's so good. Kind of has a bit of the I don't know what detail to put here, so I'll just put a face syndrome. But in any case, the Egyptian theme was executed extremely well. It's not a ton of detail in his clothing / armor, but I mean, he is a skeleton. Showing that off is detail technically, and it's all done really well and kind of intermitted with the rest of his armor and stuff. Speaking of armor, it of course complements the Doggo God inspiration, which is cool. The gun is wacky, mixing the oldish style theme, you know, with a modern weapon came out as good as it could. Looks great. Very solid everything, even if the theme is a little, like I said, antiquated. Still seems particularly Raumish as well, so of course that really helps in my eyes. S tier. Undead Colossus. He's got fire in his belly. Other than that, just kind of red and gray. Pretty cool. Both are great, but this one's a little cooler. Krampus. It's kind of like a better version of the abominable snowman Terminus, you know. Again with the faces though, I don't know. It seems to happen a lot. It's really annoying. Huh, what detail should we put here? Slap a face on. Yeah, that'll do. The only other con really is that the tail's a little dull. Aside from that, yeah, Merry Christmas. He's big, buff, and furry in all good ways. Floofy boy. His clothes are sick, his mask is sick, and the horns are majestic. The whole 9 yards. Okay, his giant fucking shoulder pad does look a little weird. Chains are cool. I'm a sucker for chains. And his gun is really, really good. Sleigh details because Christmas, and the rest is just kind of improvised. All really good. Theme execution is lovely. Details quality, all lovely. I don't think it's quite as visually appealing as the previous skin, but like I said, the skin has the whole 9 yards and then some. Easy S tier. Raum. Shiny. Quality is a very big yes. Details are aplenty. Well, it's really good. Beautiful even. He's got cool thingies on his back. His tail is lovely. His legs are really solid and stand out, kind of like the rest of the entire skin. Despite being not particularly Raum, it is strangely Raum as well. Like a demonic virus Raum. It works way too well. There's cool effects on his head. Oh yeah, his head. It's a skull and horns. It's shiny. It's cool. The gun is a lot less detailed than I expect, but I mean, it's still top tier, so yeah. It's kind of an out there theme, like they had lots of room for creativity and damn, it performed. Everything about this skin is a ginormous yes. It's both pleasing to the eye and even when you look further into it, there's just so much stuff no matter where you look. It's all stimulating. Just staring at the skin is essentially free serotonin. SS. Heatsink. Red. Ooh. It's like an overheating computer. That's a cool concept. I mean, like, even the recolor, like, has a high tier concept shift, you know what I mean? Like, the other one had really interesting high quality effects and all that stuff. Kind of meme-ish at times even. I forgot to mention that about the other one. It was even, like, a little bit funny as well. This one doesn't have that funniness, but the overarching concept that was brought over is also really interesting as well. Like I said, like an overheating computer. It's always nice to have two versions that give off completely different vibes, you know what I mean? This one's more imposing and kind of spooky looking. But I do like the effects on Raum better, or rather the original better, so yeah, that one's a little better. Ray. Beach Bunny. I guess this is a beach skin. I didn't really think about it as one, but yeah. I feel like it's not quite as on the nose in like an obnoxious way, so, you know, I'm down. Feels more so like it could exist in the world for some reason. I don't know, maybe I'm just nuts for thinking that. Especially when I hate beach skins so much, but I don't know. Yeah, it's a little more like beachness mixed up with rayness, you know what I mean? A lot of the default skin is reused with this one. The hat and glasses are, you know, classy of course. Quality's okay. It's like the same as the default. It's nice. It's fine. B tier. At least it doesn't have a fucking water gun. I don't know why I hate water guns so much. I hate water guns, dude. I hate him. Pumpkin Patch. Visually it looks great, like straight up nothing's bad. The theme is a bit on the nose, but it's adapted from Ray very recognizably. The details are all good, but nothing crazy eye-catching. The whole witch theme does seem pretty fitting for Ray. Not to mention it just kind of seems like another world's version of Ray where she has a smoking addiction. She got a nice hat. A little big maybe, but a nice hat. There's some weird inconsistency with the leg tights and the arm tights, but whatevs. It's a good skin, nothing too bad. I feel like there could have been a bit more interesting creative stuff. Like being a witch is a little bit limiting, I would say. And the way they execute it was done very, very well. It's just, you know, it's just a witch. You look at the skin, you're like, yeah, that's a witch, alright. And really not much else other than that. A tier. Ruckus. Star Slayer. Classic. Keep in mind, of course, Ruckus is old default when I say this, but it looks like a fancy and enhanced old Ruckus. It almost looks like a bunch of Star Wars stuff wrapped up into one non-Star Wars package. The details are all really good for the time. The quality isn't as good, but it was very good, again, for the time. I mean, this was the very first skin dubbed as legendary, after all. I'd say it definitely lived up to that. I mean, back then, for a skin to be this good, it was unprecedented to say the least. The shooting effects are really cool as well. My brother was happy or something about that because it was like realistic or something. I don't know, he's a nerd. But yeah, everything's good about the skin. I would say the only big downfall is that it takes away the dynamic between Ruckus and Bolt. But I mean, kind of most skins do that. I don't really care about voice packs that much anyway, so oh well. S tier. Robo Force. Kind of just seems like budget Star Slayer to me. Kind of like an Iron Man toy. I don't know. A lot like the Drogo skin actually, but a lot more toyish. Also has a lot less details than Drogo's as well. Too much less detail. It looks naked. Plus the metal looks like plastic still. So not too impressive in that regard. There really isn't any details to speak of, honestly. The arm weapons are kind of cool and the effects are cool when shooting. He's got a little hat, which is kind of cute. The colors really only help make it look more like a Happy Meal toy. The concept is, you know, relatively Ruckus-esque. The sci-fi, you know, but again, the kind of concept was done twice with Ruckus alone, with his original default and Star Slayer. Ends up kind of making this skin seem a little, just kind of like the worst version of the previous skin. And when I say worse, I mean like a lot worse. C-tier. Pirate's Treasure. It's a bit absurd for sure. I do think it gets a lot of points for committing to the damn bit, but I think I do need to bring up, of course, that it makes zero sense. I like to come and look at skins like, okay, how would this character actually use it? How would they use this costume or skin or whatever in their existence? Like, especially when it comes to combat, like, what is this? What? The problem with this skin is that it looks like a skin. It looks like somebody went up to a concept artist and was like, okay, make Ruckus into some kind of pirate skin. And the artist was like, okay, this is what I got. And they were like, that is hilarious. Do that. The result is funny, really funny, but stupid. It feels like they just slapped on the pirate theme and didn't actually give a shit about what it would look like. But at the same time, the details on this are really good. Like, you know, the mast of his arm ships are, you know, his arms. Just random stuff like that. He's got sails on his shoulders, the anchor, his guns are like little cannons coming out of a big cannon. Almost feels like a lot of really great misguided details. The result is a glorious, lovely, messed up pile of shit. It's kind of great. B tier. 8 Oceans. Ghost ship idea, kind of cool, but doesn't look as cool as Maeve's ghost skin. Plus, I mean, I'll be real, the ghost pirate has kind of happened with almost every pirate recolor in the entire game, plus one fully fledged skin. Everything's one color with a particular effect, therefore a little more dull than Maeve's. Like, Maeve's had a lot more color, so this one's not as good.
Alright, at long last I shall resist the temptation to surpass 30 minutes, and instead leave it off right here. I got 8 characters done, damn. Some of them are kind of short, but honestly I'll take what I can get. I'm getting dangerously close to the post 4.6 skins. It's gotta be just like 1 or 2 more videos till I'm done with the oldies here. I'm actually excited. I'm curious on how this video will do actually now that I think about it, since the last video actually pulled into the triple digits and then some. I don't know why it suddenly started pulling numbers, but I mean I appreciate it for sure. I got a lot of positive feedback on the series over the past few weeks, and it's a real encouragement, and I appreciate it. I do find it funny how my my third video in the series has way more views now than the other 2 previous parts though. No clue why, it's super weird. As usual, if you stuck around for this long, thank you for watching. I appreciate the support. Hopefully I can kind of continue to make some half-decent content. Feel free to subscribe if you'd like to keep up with the series, no pressure. It's purely for your own convenience. Again, thank you for watching if you made it this far. I hope you've enjoyed. Stay tuned, have a lovely day, evening, or afternoon, or morning, and I'll see you around. Bye-bye.